Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Cup of Joe with Joe and Joe podcast. I'm your host, Joe, and with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Joe.
No, Joe. Seeing a romantic couple break up in a show, book, movie, anything like that gets to me. You know, especially if I'm invested in the characters. A friendship splitting up. Oh no, this was a tough one.
Yeah, I feel the same way, dude. Full disclosure, I completely thought Premature Death was going to be a multi-episode arc sort of a thing. Spoilers, it's not. It's a single episode, which I have thoughts on, but we'll get to those in a little bit. Aside from that, though, so this is the splitting up of Gojo and Geto. And there are some things in here that I'm really like, oh, okay, and there are some things in here that I'm like, really? Okay. It's starting off at the beginning. It's been a year since the incident with Rico getting capped in the face. It wasn't the face, it was the head, but, you know, you get the picture. It never leaves my brain. Gojo is getting stronger. We get shown that in the very beginning, where his two friends are just chucking shit at him, and he's like, alright, I can utilize my energy to do this, and you're like, okay, cool. He's like, also, I'm way better at doing this and this, and you're like, alright, cool, I get it now. And you get a little bit, I like how the entire episode is from the point of view of Geto, because it's him narrating, saying how since Gojo has gotten so much stronger, they sent him out on his own. But as a consequence of that, Geto also gets sent out more on his own. So he just is alone with his thoughts a lot. Or you get the idea that he's alone with his thoughts a lot because they never actually show you. You just kind of do this 1 year skip and then it's kind of like, oh, okay. Which is like one of the things that I'm like, really? About? Where it's like, I would have preferred if we had another like 2 or 3 episodes with him, you know, just to kind of see this decline. Because it's really just, you have hidden inventory, sets up at the very end. Geto might be starting to feel a certain type of way. Not that kind of way, but the other kind of way. And this episode, it's like, alright, we're going to delve into that a teeny bit. And now he's the Geto that you see in the rest of the series. Alright, thanks, bye.
So, I understand your point. I see what you're saying. And I totally get it. But I also kind of like the pace of this episode. It kind of caught me, it did catch me really off guard. I was like, wow, this was a lot. Yeah, the time jump I wasn't ready for. I was like, oh, wow, a whole year. And yeah, you just see it. Geto is just visibly, everybody's like, you good, man? It's just like physically and mentally getting really distraught. I think that's a combination of him absorbing all these curses, right? Probably having an effect on him. As well as, again, this isolation he's getting where he's seeing almost the worst of humanity. And it's nice because Gojo and Geto leveled each other out. And now that they're not really together anymore, to their sides, they start to drift farther and farther to like the end ranges of Geto being more and more like, is this really all worth it? And Gojo being like, wow, this is awesome. This is fun. I could do this every day.
And that's something else that I'm curious about how, because skipping to that, I'm just jumping all over the episode, sorry, continuity is dead. But at the end when he's confronting Geto, after Geto's done the act of killing a bunch of innocent people because he doesn't like humans anymore, Gojo starts talking to me, he's like, there must always be a reason for killing, you can't just kill indiscriminately. And we never really get to see Gojo form a strong reason as to why he would feel that way. Because in the previous episode, he asks Geto, granted he was in a mind-altered state because he was dead and then he became God. But he asked Geto, hey, why we could just kill all these guys? All these people, no one would even know. They know nothing about JUJUTSU sorcery, we could just fuck them up. And Geto was like, no, there must always be a reason. And then, like, it's never addressed again. We never get any information on how Gojo is feeling about that or how he might have evolved from that. It's just like all of a sudden, oh, hey, Geto, you said once that we shouldn't do that, and also I'm fully behind that idea now. And like, in one sense, it could just be that Gojo, now faced with the reality of someone close to him actually starting to kill people, that's what catalyzes his morals and is like, no, you can't, this is wrong. But still, I feel like we should have gotten a little bit more of like, you see a little bit of his morals solidifying, you know, like that Uncle Ben moment where he's like, we can't just kill people.
I think it's definitely, or at least the vibe I was getting is what you were saying towards the end there, where now that he's seen, again, his best friend actually do it, he has to be like, dude, did you not, like, you literally just went against everything you just said to me, and I listened to you, and then you go against it, and, like, you need to hear it back now. Like, you influenced me in a good way. And then you go against your word. But I totally get what you're saying. Instead of letting us see it a bit more, there's a lot of, I guess, implicit stuff in this episode where they're like, look, we're not going to explore on it too much. We're going to keep moving, get to the point, which, again, I want as much Jujutsu Kaisen as possible, but I also don't mind the pace they're going at.
I think it makes sense because they very clearly want to get onto the next thing, because the end of this episode, again, jumping all over the place, the very end, Gojo wakes up and we're back in, as the show says, 2018, like present day for the show. It's literally right where it ended off in season 1, where our main trio of Yuji, Nobara, and Fushiguro are all shopping, and then all of a sudden they get the call, and it's like, oh, Gojo's calling us, telling us to come in. He says it's very important. Like, he always says it's very important. And so they finally get to him, and they're waking him up. The implication is that he was, like, dreaming, reminiscing on, like, all of these things. Probably because something's big is about to happen in relation to all this shit. But I understand how they would be like, okay, you have your 4 episodes in the past. You have your 5th episode to kind of contextualize. All right, this is how Geto got here. And now, boom, we're back into it. Shibuya incident, baby.
I'm not sure if you've heard anything about the release schedule, but episode 6 won't be released till the 31st of this month, which will be marking the start of the Shibuya arc. Which means we're going to have like a 3-week break, more like 28 days, after today's episode. But there's going to be like recap episodes, like August 10th, Season 2, Episode 1 through 5, and Jujutsu Kaisen 0 recap episode. August 17th, we get a Season 1 recap. The 24th, no episode. Mappa's actually letting their workers go see their families for once and eat some food. And then August 31st is where Shibuya arc kicks off.
Interesting. All right, so we're going to have a little bit of a break from JJK then. I did not notice that. Anyway, getting back to episode 29 here, we get introduced for a second time, I guess, to Toto's instructor, Toto's master, whose name I still do not know. It's the big blonde lady, though.
She's pretty badass. I like her personality.
Yeah, I like her personality, too. She is obviously much more of the lighthearted energy that they're bringing to this episode, because the scene previous to her introduction is like a haunting image of Geto's face in the shower as he's contemplating all of his morals and if he's gonna go killing a whole bunch of people. But I also find it strange and or intriguing because she is the one who sort of instills the idea of killing off all the regular humans in Geto's mind. Because, like, as we learn, the mechanics of the world is such that curses are, born of cursed energy that leaks out of other humans and build up and they become big bad curses, all that sort of crap. Jujutsu sorcerers, or at least those aware of their cursed energy, don't release any of that cursed energy to actually build up and become curses themselves. So in Geto's mind, he's like, so if you could kill all the humans, then you wouldn't have to worry about any of these curses coming around and fucking shit up anymore. And also, people would be more aware of themselves and be able to defend themselves a little bit more. So maybe I could get some fucking rest! So that is interesting. I did not expect him to get the idea from her of all people. Mostly because we just don't know her, like, at all. We see her in one flashback in Season 1. And she's like, hey, little boy, I like the way you beat the shit out of that older kid up. Come on, get on my motorcycle. We're gonna go have some fun.
Yeah, I need to know about her a little bit more. I was a little confused. She was like this big catalyst, and I was like, I don't know much about you. Also, the scene in the shower, that was scary as shit. And then the first time he says monkey, I'm like, oh no. I'm like, the switch has happened.
Yeah, the moment he says monkey, you're just like, oh, yep, here it is. It's done for. It's gonna be horrible. And then you just see him in the next couple of scenes. We get the origin a little bit of the 2 younger girls that are part of his posse. So, like, that's where he first picked him up. Obviously, that right there is the big incident where he's just like, all right, big blonde lady said, I've got 2 paths ahead of me, and I haven't quite decided which one I want to take. Well, I'm deciding now, because these 2 adults are being absolute jackasses, so they're treating their children or their grandchildren or whoever like total shit, and so I'm just going to burn it all to the ground.
I kind of liked that transition, how that was the thing that broke him. But the thing I was confused about, and that I was like, am I supposed to know this, was like the fact that apparently in that whole massacre thing, he killed his parents, and that was like his hometown village. I was like, okay.
I don't know if his parents specifically lived in that village. I think his immediate next step was go to my parents, cross them off the list. That way they can't be used as leverage against me, sort of a thing.
Maybe I just missed that.
Could be they were there and it was his home village. Could just be he did the village first and then he went to his parents and he was like, all right, now I've done this. I've chosen my path. Whoop, get you guys out of here. You can't be around to sway me. I won't let you. So, I don't know. But the scenes of him torching the village, you don't get like an action scene, which makes sense because they don't want to glorify him murdering a bunch of people. But the couple of shots that we do get, real whack. Like, I don't know if I want to call them like cool and stylized, if I want to call them just like what the fuck, because they're like somewhere in between for me. The blue flames everywhere, the massive curse behind him, and then his just almost apathetic face in the midst of all of it. I'm like, yeah, this man should have probably gotten some therapy.
The art style during those scenes, gorgeous. The art style in the shower scene, awesome. And not because we got to see his butt. All the fangirls probably going crazy over that. But also, Joe, there's a lot of attention to detail, I feel like, in this episode. Not necessarily with storytelling, but just like the way the episode was presented. The one Jujutsu sorcerer who's like all happy-go-lucky that gets killed, and also is another catalyst for why Geto finally breaks. But he talks with his like hands over his mouth like I'm doing, and the audio changed to sound like that.
I didn't even pick up on that. That's cool as hell.
It was really cool. I had to go back and play it, but that is what happened. Yeah, after Geto does, like, I mean, the whole, and how we find out how it happens, it's a cut between also like a report. I'm assuming it's from the perspective of the principal guy or sensei, and you see that Geto's sentenced to death, and then it cuts to Gojo finding out.
I think the principal's coming to him to be like, you're the executioner. Probably because you're the only one powerful enough who can actually, like, realistically stop Geto at this point.
Yeah, that's how I interpreted it as well.
And obviously, Gojo's not happy about this. Gojo doesn't want to believe this is what happened with Geto. And again, I wanted a little bit more between the two of them, or at least them on their own, trying to come to terms with the fact that they're now on completely opposite sides of life. And of course, Geto just approaches Shoko in the middle of Shinjuku Station. And he's like, hey, what's up? And she's very chill. She's just like, oh, so, is it true? And he's like, yeah, this is true. She's like, well, anyway, and she's just very casually talking to him, and she's calling someone on the phone, and you're like, oh, she's reporting that she found him. And she is to Gojo. And that's when you get the final confrontation between the two of them where they're talking, that is Geto and Gojo. And I like that Shoko isn't there, and you get the line where she goes, what? Of course not. I don't want to die. Which I believe should be taken to mean, like, are you going to stick around? And it's like, no, I don't want to be in the between you two. Are you kidding me? I could go nuclear.
Yeah, that's how I interpret it as well. That whole scene was great. I love her personality.
Yeah, but aside from that, two things between the Gojo and Geto conversation at the end here. Number one, I hate how they keep transitioning between the two of them with a fucking car. Stop doing it. It annoyed me a lot. Number two, the music, I felt, did not match the tone of the conversation or the event whatsoever. Like, the music almost seemed like a more uplifting, kind of happy ending credit song, when I feel like the conversation should have had something a lot more stress-inducing, or at least uneasy. Like, it just didn't mesh well with me. So, like, that's probably also why I feel like they should have done a little bit more between these two, is because the final confrontation we get with the two of them before they then split off and we get back to present day, it just didn't feel right. It was interrupted by automobiles, and the music choice was whack, in my opinion. Do better. Take a break. You're in your 3-week break, but do better.
I didn't mind it. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. Honestly, it didn't even register in my head. It was just kind of like, oh, I had a feeling a fight wasn't going to happen, but I was interested to kind of see like what the last words were going to be before they split ways. But I did love the, Geto talking about, you're telling me that's impossible. You're the one who has the power that could do it with no problem. I loved that kind of clap back that he gave. and I like how it unsettled Gojo a little bit.
Yeah, that is a good line that he has there, because he's also like there's a bit of venom in it. He's a little jealousy. He's not as powerful as Gojo, and he knows it. He's said at the beginning of the episode, but he's still trying to strive for what he believes in, which is creating a world of only Jujutsu sorcerers, which isn't as evil as we initially thought it was. Like when he first is talking about it. Again, the catalyst of this is him wanting to save his fellow Jujutsu sorcerers. So from that aspect,
again, they do a good job of making him not I want to take over the world, but his morals are twisted, but they're still morals.
Yes, he has a code, and he's living by it. At the end there, you see him, he puts on, the costume stuff that we know him for in season 1, and immediately he's like, I'm taking over. Anyone not like that? A lot of people disagreed. All right, you there in the front, come up here. Kills them. Doesn't mic drop, mic throws. Wipes off the blood, calls them monkeys. And you're like, all right, all the pieces are where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, that was kind of a nice way to wrap it up and be like, all right, this is the new. It's almost like seeing Anakin put on the Darth Vader helmet for the first time. You're like, all right, the transition is complete.
Yeah, a little bit. We're back to present day, and I guess in a few weeks...
No. Oh, you're forgetting my favorite part. We see little Megumi!
Oh, shit, we do see little Megumi. Gojo goes to him, yeah.
Gojo's like, hey, little man, how you doing? He's like, fuck off, dude. I love his attitude. It's like a first grader.
But he's not rude. Like, he's just a little bit like, who are you?
Yeah, I like how tough he is. You can tell he's super mature. Gojo's just like, oh my god, you look like your freaking dad. And I like how Gojo handles it. He's like, look, I'm just gonna keep it straight with you. Here's the situation. Here are your options. What do you think? And he's like, look, I don't care about my old man. All I care about is keeping this person safe. If I do this, will it keep safe? And Gojo's like, no, hell no. He's like, damn. All right, well, you keep getting stronger. I'll hang out with you, keep an eye, and then one day when you want to know about your old man, I'll tell you.
Cool. Anything else you wanted to discuss with this episode?
Finishes up at present day. It felt so good to see the trio. I like how they spent a little bit of extra time kind of focusing the camera on Megumi. Almost again from like Gojo's perspective of coming out of that dreamlike state and be like, oh man.
Oh, this kid.
Yeah. So I like this episode. I'm a little disappointed we're getting a break. I mean, I kind of like the pace that we were going. Also, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but we're going to go all the way to December with this show.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I can dig it.
Yeah, it looks like. So August 31st, Shibuya arc starts with episode 6 and to be consecutive till December of 2023.
Goddamn.
Yeah, I'm hyped. I've been enjoying it. I understand some of the qualms with this episode, but it was still, it will be a legendary one probably in the future.
All right. So the prequel arc of Jujutsu Kaisen is completed. We got a bit of a break now until it comes back with the Shibuya arc. So, with that being said, everyone, hope you are enjoying. And also, always remember, we'll love you, we'll leave you, and goodbye.